So just a little background, we were just talking, my undergraduate degree in zoology, then I got an MBA in finance, and then I came to the University of Florida and got a degree in curriculum instruction, which is what they now call teaching and learning science ed. So that's how I got here. Weather was way better than Cleveland, so I stayed. So anyway, I already gave something away by saying PhD, right? Some of you are sitting there maybe, okay, so who, except the architecture, since that's a different field, who is sitting here thinking I'm going to get a master's, see how I like it, and then go on for a PhD? Okay, and you're engineering?
Hmm.
Okay, what kind of engineering?
Aerospace,
No. Okay.
mechanical, if that makes it easier.
No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't get a master's, try it out, and then see if we're going to keep going for a PhD. And I will tell you why. If it said civil, I'd say maybe if you want to work for government. Okay. And computers, kind of iffy. How about you? What's your name? No, you.
Mine, electrical.
Electrical, yeah. And so there's another one over here.
Economics.
What?
Economics.
And are you planning on graduate school in economics?
Yes.
And your undergraduate is in economics?
Yeah.
Did you get like a minor in math?
I was going to double major with comp sci,
Come again?
with computer science.
And what year are you?
First year.
Okay. It turns out that undergraduate degree in economics is one of the least likely things to get you into a PhD graduate program in economics. Okay. And I would go to the Department of Economics, find a graduate coordinator, and say, I want to go to grad school in economics. What should I take as an undergraduate? Likely, they're going to load you up in math. Computer's good too. But economics undergrads are not necessarily prepared for an economics graduate program. Okay, so, and I'm so happy you're younger because you got time. Because at least a minor in math, maybe even switching to math. So talk to them. Every college, you know how you guys have an undergraduate coordinator in your department, right? There's a graduate coordinator too. And I mean the Dr. Smith graduate coordinator, not an office person. Okay, so usually if you look on their website, you can go down and find who is the faculty graduate coordinator, and you email them and ask for an appointment, saying, I want to get into graduate school, what should I do now? Okay, and let them help you, because it's not going to be just a straight, economics. And I might be lying, but let me know if that's fine, what I've been told. Okay. All right, now, you guys have already tuned in that you're aiming for PhD, and that's good, but just for these $3 over here, let me tell you the difference. Master's is generally more classes. It's kind of like, I don't know, you're going to basically be doing the same job as a bachelor's degree. You're going to be working for the PhD. Okay. Here's the real important part though. Like most master's programs, you pay for it out of your own pocket. Okay. PhD programs in STEM, I don't know about architecture, you're going to get paid to get your degree. You know that? People told you that yet, right? So you're going to get a stipend. Right now, my students in the office are getting, like I got one going to, if you went to urban Champaign, Urbana in Illinois for engineering, they're offering $45K stipend and free tuition. He's going to probably go instead to Northwestern because he'd rather be there. They're like 38 plus free tuition. So you are going to get a stipend, which is enough to live on, and free tuition. And these guys are even getting a couple thousand for moving expenses. Who knew, right? So you don't get that as a master's student. The other thing is when you apply as a PhD student, they take you more seriously. Because as a master's student, you're in and out. It's just, you're going to take classes. You're not going to make it famous. As a PhD student, they're investing money in you because you're going to make them look good. All right. So all of a sudden, it's a different equation. That's why they're going to pay you to do this. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that part? You guys who are in STEM, who are not graduating in May, it's too late for you guys. If you are a rising senior, I want you to go to the class website and find the course for the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship Program. All right, used to be taught in engineering, but it moved over to class. The national and the NSF GRFP, Graduate Fellowship Program, is the gold standard for graduate students. Okay, if you get this, NSF is going to pay your stipend for, I believe, 3 years and free tuition, and you're famous. Right? Every year UF gets maybe 17, and we're all excited. Many of those took that class. And the time to take it, okay, so it's a spring thing. And you guys who are rising juniors, you want to take this next spring, okay? They may also have a different version in the fall for you guys who are a little bit older. The best time to take it is the summer, the spring before you leave for your senior year, right? Yeah.
Can you repeat what it was called?
Yeah, NSF, if you type in NSF GRFP, you'll find it. It's the gold standard. Now, more people apply than get it, obviously, right? However, the nice part, and the applications are real pain. It's a lot of work. You have to come up with a personal statement, and you also have to come up with a research proposal. You have to write a plausible research proposal. If you're in that course, they help you with that. Your faculty members should help you with that. Okay. If you're already gone, right? Have you applied for it? NSF? You're just looking at me like me.
I'm going to medical school.
Oh, medical school, never mind, you told me that, I forgot.
That's why I was looking at the
Yeah, I was gonna say, you have a second chance, so you apply, and you will start working on this the summer before your senior year. You apply in the fall, the deadlines are different based on your major, like engineering is gonna be different than biology, okay? So then you apply to graduate schools. Now here's what they tell me. The application but then if you don't get it, you can apply the next year as your first year graduate student. So once you decide you know where you're going, you can talk to your employer and say, hey, how about we go for this? And they will help you then write a proposal. All right. Every college has some people who've gotten this. So you can always go to them and say, can you help me do this? Right. But that one course is really unique in terms of helping you get through the whole process. Right now, it's a pain in the butt why you should do it, besides you might get it. Because students tell me that, yeah, it was really hard to do all those pieces. But then when I sat down to do my graduate applications, it was a breeze. Because I'd already done so much of the work. All right. So there's a benefit after, even if once you apply, you sit back, you gotta wait, you haven't announced yet. They will announce in mid-April. They're gonna announce after many students have already been accepted to where they're gonna go. So this is a process that once you do it, will help you with your applications. Okay, you're going to apply in the fall of your senior year. If the application's deadline isn't until March, but they open in December, guess when you apply? Yes, you don't wait. You get it in as early as you can, which is why the summer before your senior year is the golden time. Okay, because this is when you can start doing your homework, and also you can start homework before then. Also, at your application process, you're going to need some things. You're going to need letters of recommendation. And you probably need 3. You first year students, you probably don't know anybody right now that you could ask for one, but you got to make sure that by the time you're applying the fall of your senior year, you've got 3 people who think you're fantastic. It can't be your mother. It has to be faculty. Hopefully faculty in the department you're in. Okay? And so this is why undergraduate research is so good, because you're going to get first for 2 things. You almost can't get into a PhD school without research, and that gets you a letter of recommendation. Okay, so if you guys who are younger students who have not started research yet, then it's too late now for the semester. You got finals. Just enjoy your summer. Soon as fall hits, walk into 202 Newell Hall. Outside of it are peer advisors sitting there doing your homework, saying, will you help me find a research project? Because you need to get started by your 2nd year. Right? So if you haven't already, and if you have, you want to make sure that you're impressing the heck out of that person so they're writing a really good letter. But you're going to need some more letters. You younger students, after you do research a year here, you're going to come to the workshop that says, I don't know if it'll be in the spring or fall. follow will be how to apply to summer research somewhere else. Research experience for undergraduates. You want to apply to those. Some school, and that's really hit or miss, so you apply to 10 or 12, if you get, anybody got one? Okay, if you get one of these, they're gonna pay you 5,000-6,000, free housing, maybe food, to do research for 10 weeks in the summer someplace else. Go to that workshop, because then you have a letter from the faculty here, and then you have a letter from somebody somewhere else. Okay, so you're starting to think about who is gonna write these letters for me. If you're in a program like McNair or someone, or URS, any URSP in here? Yeah, I write a mean letter. All right, for URSP. So, I mean, I write for anybody I know. I have to know you. But, so you're already one step ahead on that one. Okay. So we've already said, okay, you're going to go for the PhD. Okay. You're going to apply for the NSF because why not? The rule of my life is if it's free to apply, you apply. Right? Why not? And it will prepare you for your applications. And think now, who are these 3 people that are going to write letters that say I'm great? Because you're going to need that. You don't need to say you're great. They need to say you're great. They're good in the lab or on the research project. They ask good questions. They're independent thinkers. They contribute to the project. That's what's going to get you in. Okay. All right. So now, big question is, where do you apply? Right? So let's say, where's my biology? Your biology over here, or microbiology. All right. Are you doing research now? And who's your mentor?
Dr. Lemus. He's in the College of Medicine now.
Okay, what's the name?
Lemus.
Lemus. Dr. Lemus is doing microbiology research.
It's like sort of with microbiology, but
Okay. And you love it? That's another thing I should mention. If you've done research and you hate it with your entire being, it might be this. In the interest of all fairness, I'm not so fond of research myself. But why did I do it? Why do you think I did it, even though it wasn't my favorite thing to do? Why did I do it? This is another reason to do, if you get a PhD besides you love research. Why do you think I did? Yeah.
What you can do afterwards.
Okay, that's the way to say it. Sure. When I was in my mid-20s, I went to a meeting and I met, oh yeah.
It allowed you to understand the process.
No, that's not why I did it. No, much more. Okay, first of all, I should admit that I was older. I didn't go back to, and I don't want you to do this because it's not the way to do it. I was older and I am in my mid-20s. I went to a party and I met the lady that I wanted her job when I was 40. So I never met her before, but I went up to her and I said, I want your job. Do you have do I need a PhD to get it? And she said, yes. She said, it doesn't mean you know anymore. It opens the doors. So in my case, it was a door opener thing because I knew that I wanted to do what I'm doing now. And I couldn't do it in an academic setting without a PhD. So I didn't necessarily have a love of research, which don't tell my boss, but it was because I needed it to get where I wanted to go. Okay, so that's another reason to go on. Okay, and you guys who are going to get a PhD are going to be the boss of those bachelor's and master's students. Right, and you guys are smart enough to want to be a boss and to do research. What's you guys? Okay, so you know what research is, right? What does a PhD student do for the world? Why are they going to pay you to do it? What do they do?
PhD is essentially one branch of that specific field. They're making a small breakthrough.
Yeah, and as a student, you make them look good because what have you done? What have you had to defend? You've worked I'm lying. You worked 5 years on something, and what have you got to show for it? Besides the 3 letters that make them look good. Do you know? I think you do. A publication of what? Which is getting there. It's research that is. Thank you. You come up with something new. You have created or discovered new knowledge. You can do that in any other degree. Medicine is going to mostly implement what you tell them because you are the one who has created new knowledge or maybe a new device, you know, maybe a process. Okay, that's why they're going to pay you. Right. So yeah. So how do we know where to go? Well, you're going to leave us. Did you say? Okay, you're going to look in your field, and if you're doing research, see where does your mentor publish. You know, maybe it's a journal of medical microbiology. I'm convinced there's a journal of everything. Okay, after I found out one of my travel awards, I sent a kid to a conference about worms. So that's when I decided there's a conference for everything. All right, so you look and see, pick a journal, and there's journals and there are better journals. There are journals that you really want to get into, and then they're kind of like that's this one. Find the journals your mentor is publishing in and considers good journals in your field. Then start looking up the table of contents. Shop. You're shopping. You're reading the titles. And you're reading a title that says, oh, that's really cool. Write it down. We'll find out where is that person. Person might be in like Minnesota or something, right? But you can use the table of contents of good journals to kind of start getting an idea who's doing what and where are they. Because applying for graduate school is totally different than what you did for undergrad. In undergrad, I'm a Gator, so I'm going to apply to UF. You apply to this Black Gold Coalitions, and then in the end of February, they spit out the acceptance, right? By the way, congratulations. We are so competitive. I don't know you guys, I know you're all smart because you wouldn't have gotten here otherwise. So anyway, grad schools, you're not applying to like say Northwestern or Case Western, okay? You're applying to a person who's doing research that you think is cool and you want to be a part of. That person might be in Northwestern, and it might be in Duke, right? So you graduate application has two parallel paths. Yes, you apply to school just like you would to like UF as an undergrad, but you are at the same time applying to an individual. Because here how graduate applications work. The admissions college, graduate school, just ticks off the boxes. Yes, you meet these requirements. They ship it all over to the department, and the department picks their people. So you want to have a champion for you in that department. Somebody who wants to mentor you, somebody who wants you to get in and come there and work with them. So yes, you do the other parts, but the more important part is what you do in addition. So when you're making your list of people, you can like, I don't know, maybe you prioritize or something. Maybe you make the list of these are my top 5 or something. I usually tell people to apply to the, oh, also there's US News and World Report. So you can look up what are the top 5 schools for aerospace engineering. I expect all my students to apply for the top 5, and then a couple in the next tier, and then a couple in the next tier. You cover your bases, right? But you can't get into one of the top 5 if you don't apply. So I'm always in favor of that. Let's say a little bit about GRE. Back in the old days, you had to take a GRE, graduate record exam. It's another like SAT test. COVID shut that all down. And now it's coming back and hit or miss it. Some schools, most of the biology side, have decided we're not even going to bother anymore. Engineering in some places are holding on to it. So what you have to do is find out when you have your list of places where these people are that you've identified, you go in and say, do I need a GRE for the school? It says, it might say optional. Here's the deal. Take it and don't tell anybody. If you do stellar, report it to them. If it's optional. If you don't do stellar, don't report it. Okay? So that's an individual thing. Different schools are approaching that differently. So how do you approach that fact that you make your list of these people? Also talk to your current mentor, current research mentor, because they have colleagues other places. And they're always looking for good students to join because they always are graduating students. Okay, so that's another place you can look. So you look at the publications, you talk to your mentors, right? If you get to go, the best thing ever is if you get to go to a conference in your field, right? And what I do in a conference, you know, they get this book, this thick. Well, now it's all online of all the people presenting. So before I go, I like earmark who do I want to introduce myself to. And then you might not even go to a single talk. You just walk around, make yourself little cards, walk around and introduce yourself to anybody. That's a way to meet them in person, okay? Then you can follow up and say, hey, Dr. Smith, I met you with conference at 8, right? Or something like that, right? All right, so how do you approach them? You've identified this list. You've checked with US News and World Report. You don't want to just apply to a school because it's in the top 5 without knowing who you might want to be with and be working with. And you're going to you're looking at 5 years, 6 maybe, right? So I always tell people they don't like this, that weather should not, climate should not be a part of equation. It should be the research and do the best you can in the best place you can get into. You can always move back south after. All right, this is all about the research and what's gonna propel you to whatever you want to do. Like I said, doors open, that's what they told me, right? More doors will be open. Okay, so you know, he's gonna go buy warm silk long johns because he's gonna go to Cleveland and freeze. So let him do, right? And he can move back here if you want. By the way, I will tell you, okay, let me rephrase that. I am anti-staying in Florida for graduate school. And here's what happens. You're really smart and you're working with somebody in their research project for 2 or 3 years, they want to keep you. Whose best interest is that in? Theirs, not yours. Right? There's only like maybe 2 reasons to stay in Florida, and that the best person in the world in your field is here. That's usually not the case. Or maybe like you got 6 kids and a house and a mortgage and helping you fit into that category. Okay, but until you do it, you're gonna have to take this on faith that going somewhere else is so much better for you. You learn different people, different ways of doing things, different experiences. You're in Florida, go to a blue state, what the heck, try something new. I mean, you know, it's a growth experience that you just gonna have to believe me about this, right? Because you're sitting there going, I'm gonna stay in Florida. Yeah, you're comfortable here, don't care. Get out of your comfort zone, you're gonna go somewhere. Right. I actually had one poor student, the best person in the field was here, and she didn't even like the lady. But she's thinking that she was famous person, right? In my career, I actually fired a famous person, because a famous person and I did not listen to when I was my very second semester of PhD school. It was obviously not a match. And so I didn't know she was a famous person until after I got there. Well, I got with them. I graduated, so it can happen. So, all right, so you're gonna do, and see, this is kind of stuff you do summer, especially the summer before your senior year. By the time you walk in the fall, you should have your, I'm gonna apply to these 6, 7 places, whatever. All right, and you should also have already look and see what they require, because different ones require different things. Some of them require 2 or 3 essays on different things. Some of them require 1 essay on something else. So start looking and see what do they want, and you can start fleshing stuff out. My experience is students do not sell themselves out. They're too modest. So a student will come show me their letter of like, I don't know, personal statement. I said, well, what about when you went to China? Oh yeah, I forgot. You know, so you've got to really think this through. You have as many people, everyone should have at least 1 English major, because you're going to have these things edited. You're going to have 5, 6 versions of your NSF thing or anything you do. You need somebody who knows where commas go to help you make sure that, among other things, you don't set it something in that's really cool, but it's grammatically incorrect. Is they're looking, that's what they want these paragraphs. What do they want an opinion on that? What are your written communication skills? So, you know, if you're going to have 13 people read it, nobody gives me anything to read that they don't expect a whole bunch of read that. And I'm always happy to do that. When you write, by the way, when you ask for a letter of recommendation, you ask somebody if they'd be willing to do a letter of recommendation, and you don't ask them the day before it's due. All right. Even for summer REUs. All right. I require this, and then if I say yes, then the student needs to send me their CV. Right. I didn't say resume, it's a CV. We'll talk about that in a second. And a draft of a personal statement. Is I can learn more stuff to put in my letter. Things I learned stuff about students I know for 4 years that I didn't know until I read their personal statement. All right, so it makes a better letter. Same thing with summer REUs. You're going to need a letter of recommendation, at least 1, probably more than 1. I've had students send me a spreadsheet, even for graduate school. These are all the schools I'm applying to. These are the departments I'm applying to, so I can say it in the letter, right? And then these are the due dates. I love those dates because I know what I'm supposed to do and when. All right. So, you know, make it as easy for the letter writer as possible. And then don't assume they've done it. I always tell, once I write a letter, I always send a student, it might be like 2 words. I did it. 3 words, right? If you don't get that from me, that means I probably haven't done it. You need no follow up. So it's okay to follow up with the school and say, are all my letters in? If they say no, then you go very politely and remind them of the deadline, that stuff. Right? Yes.
How much time do you leave between the first initial asking and maybe the follow-up email?
Well, let's say it's due on February 15th and you asked, now on January 10th or something, and you find out that it's not in on 5 days before it's due. Then you might want to shoot an email and say, just a gentle reminder that this is due in 5 days.
Gotcha.
Something like that.
So it's not like a check-in every week type of thing.
Oh, gosh, no, because you'd be annoyed.
Yeah.
Right? I've actually had students that got stood up by somebody and they actually have asked me in the last minute, but it's not their fault, so I can do it. But you have to really fix this. Because I never hold a student growing up against a student. So, are there any questions about how to figure out where you might want to apply?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you figure out where you might want to apply?
Okay, somebody help them. 2 ways. Come again? 3 ways. Look at the journal. So it's not, you're not only looking at the title, but you're looking at who is it and where are they?
So it's like aligning research interests.
Yeah, because here's your, okay. I read this, I don't know if it's actually true that 5 years out of doing your PhD, the vast majority of people are not doing the same thing they got their PhD. Okay, I certainly did it, but so if you did it, I had a, I love this guy. He had to do bioenergy with calculus. And he said, when I graduate, I am never working with calculus again. And he never did. So, but it got him the job at FDA and then USDA and then Procter & Gamble. So don't think that your whole life you're going to be working on this worm thing. It's going to get you the degree and open the doors, but you're going to have to do it for the 5 or 6 years. So when you're looking at potential things, it should be something you're interested in. Aerospace and mechanical are vastly different. I mean, I don't know which part of it you're interested in, but so first you're going to look at the journals and then look at U.S. News and World Report. And of the top 10 schools, go and see who's doing what there. Right? Okay, there's another, yeah.
So I've heard there are kind of like 2 separate ways of applying, where like one, you directly speak to someone and go directly into their lab for grad school, but then another way is like doing a rotation at different labs. So what would you?
Yes, some schools have the rotation thing. I have a student who's up at the University of Chicago in regenerative medicine. He still applied to an individual, right, that he thought he might want to work with, who was his champion. But after he got there, he got to rotate a bunch of labs and he picked a different person. So you still want that, somebody in the committee of admissions committee is in the honor. All right, now you've got these names. How do you approach them? You send in an email. Okay. The rule of emails for faculty, first of all, get their name spelled right. And if you don't know, it's Dr. Smith. Okay, you're gonna be, so you got it. Those are like the most common silly things. Giant emails, people will not read. You want to be quick and to the point. What's your name? Ryan what?
Mulligan.
Okay. So, hi, Dr. Smith. My name is Ryan Mulligan. I'm a senior at the University of Florida in microbiology. I read your paper on worms, and it was the most interesting I've read my whole life. I have done research on worms, and I'm very interested in talking to you about the possibility. Oh, and I'm going to pursue a PhD, and I would appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the possibility of joining a research lab. Okay, then you seal it with, you're giving them a gentle hint to do something. Look forward to hearing from you. You're not saying answer me. You're saying look forward to hearing. Okay, so what did I do? I said who you were, what you were, why you picked them. I looked on the internet and I saw that you guys do all this cool stuff with worms, and this I love worms. I want to do worms. But then you tell them what you've done. Now there's 2 versions here. One is I've been working with worms for 3 years, and I've learned a lot of things that I believe would be valuable to your research group. But let's say you worked on hedgehogs, okay, and you want to go work with worms. You say the last 3 years I worked on hedgehogs. But I've learned a lot of valuable skills that I feel will translate to your project over here. So you can, that's how you kind of spin it. if you're going to be applying to a place where they're doing something a little different than what you've already got research in. Because no matter what you've done research in, you learn valuable research skills. So you don't focus on the worm or the hedgehog on skills. So either way, you're offered something like that, right? What other, so that's how you start that trail. And I would actually, the question always comes up, what if there are 2 or 3 people in the same school? Probably pick one and start with that, right? But you're gonna write that same letter, maybe 10 different times, 10 different people all over the country. All right. But you personalize it by looking up everything you can about what they do, and let them know that you've done that by saying, I was really interested in when you use CRISPR on that worm. It's so cool, right? So you've got to make sure that you get that part right. So you shoot all of those out, and I would do that. Northern schools have different schedules than us. We start way earlier than they do. But I would probably do that at the very end of the summer, shoot them out, see what happens. Okay. And then the question always comes up, what if I don't hear back, right? So I have this technique that you guys find difficult, and it's a generational thing. If you really think Dr. Smith is good, you've sent out letter, and it's been 3 weeks and you haven't heard a thing. My technique is you pick up the phone and you call. The phone is the thing you carry. And I know you guys don't like calling people. You don't text them, you call. Chances are you're going to call their office number or whatever's on the website. With any luck at all, you don't get them. You don't want to call. With any luck at all, you don't get them. What would you do? Say, hi, Dr. Smith. This is, I can't remember already. Ryan, I suppose. I just thought I'd follow up with the email I sent you a couple weeks ago about the possibility of talking to you about your research group. All right. Now, if you get them, you say the same thing, but usually you don't get them. But it's an opportunity to gently prod without, you never, ever, ever, I get these every year. I sent you an email that you didn't answer, so I'm sending you again. I think where that goes, right? Garbage. Don't ever do that. There are ways to politely say it. And it's more like, in fact, even I got one today, because this kid apparently ignored it. I don't know. It said, I just thought I would check in to find out, blah, blah, blah. There's ways to be polite without annoying somebody. Okay. All right. So where are we now? You know how to look, right? You know how to identify. In the summer, you start looking about what kind of statements do I have to start writing. You start playing with that. Look at the NSF deadline for you. You got to walk in the fall, almost finished with that. And really all you're going to be doing is tidying it up, because usually it's in October, different dates in October. And then you get your applications in. So, but you're getting your applications into the graduate school that Northwestern or something, while you're having these conversations with them. Okay. So if you see somebody online that looks super cool, but you look up their research record and you find that, yeah, they published last year, but the last time they published was 2014, you aren't going to take them off the list. Because the research publication record is an indication of the health of the research project. So I've had students that fall for charismatic people doing interesting things who can't get a nickel to support them. You don't want to be that person, right? So you always check the research, even though you found it maybe in the journal, you always check, because it could be, they're like, I don't know, 2 years out of retirement and going, and they're just not active. A lot of times people have moved up into administrative positions or not that research active. So you don't approach anybody that doesn't have a really good research record. And when you're looking at the research record, you want to see a bunch of names, because you want to see that they're publishing with students. All right, process of picking, starting your homework, and making those first contacts. Questions? Yeah.
Just for finding research, say for next semester to do with a professor, when emailing them, do you recommend like attaching like a resume or like our e-portfolio with the email or with
The
the?
first email?
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, thank you for asking that. I left that out. Okay, now, I don't use the word resume because you guys think it all has to be one page. You're now in the CD land. A senior faculty CD can be 40 pages, okay? I have, oh, I forgot. Okay, here's the deal. We have this new, you guys remind me, okay? We have this new Canvas undergraduate research be all and end all site now. By, what's today, Tuesday? By Thursday, I will put on it someplace, I don't know where yet. Probably, there's 4 little circles under finding research. I think that's the best place to stick it. I'll put my resume, not my resume template. If you're gonna send me a resume to help write a letter, it's gonna be my template and I won't read it, and I will tell you why. I saw for years so many corny resumes that one summer when you guys are gone on board, I sat there with resumes all over my desk and I made the be all and end all. The resume I'm going to show you is for graduate school research oriented. Okay, it's not to sell shoes at Macy's. It's not one page. It's going to be a couple of pages. And you're going to remind me if I haven't done it, okay? Because I might forget. I got to figure out where to put it. I can do that. But when you see it, don't despair. Because when I made it for any potential major. So there's a bunch of stuff in there for pre-meds. You just skip that part and go to the pieces. The first part is, your personal information, right? And then education, right? Then what's the next thing you think?
Research experiences?
You see, it's not work experience, it's research, because that's what they're looking for. And you write the research in a format that's kind of like a publication. Okay, and you never use the V word. What's the V word? Volunteer. We do not use volunteer, okay? Because you're more than that. Okay, so you'll see that. Just cut out the pieces that don't apply to you because they're maybe because they, you're not permitted. But you guys who are younger, you're going to see the places where you have something to put by the time you're applying to graduate school. There's a place for teaching experience. Mentoring experience. You're sitting there first year, you say, I haven't done that yet. I know, but you better in the next 3 years. Okay, so for the younger people, it's a way to look and see what you need to fill in by the time you apply. For you guys who are more senior, probably already have places. At RSP, we always have about 20, research and creativity class. We usually have about 20, at least TAs every year. So that's a good way to get one of those.
What if your teaching assistant position is a volunteer?
If you're what?
Teaching assistant position is a volunteer.
Then you're a teaching assistant and it's teaching experience. They don't have to know if you get paid for it, not their business. Okay, the important part of that is teaching experience. Oh, leadership. You guys should all join the association of the student chapter of the Mechanical Engineering Society, whatever it is, right? Make sure you join whatever is the student group of your field, right? But then it's not enough to just be a member of 5 clubs. You got to show leadership somewhere. It could be being in these guys are in a leadership position because they're putting on workshops for you. That's a leadership position, okay? Maybe you were in a design team and you were the head person on the design team. That's leadership. So you got to think about these categories and what you can put in them. Because no, you don't have the clinical stuff and shadowing, but you do need leadership. Teaching is good because what if faculty do research, they do teaching and they do service. So you got to make sure you got stuff in those categories. Right? And we use service, we don't use volunteer work. Right? You work for Habitat for Humanity, maybe you led the team. Great, that's leadership. Right? If it's not, you didn't lead the team, that can be community service. Right? So you guys are different levels right now, but when you look at that resume, you'll see either what I need to add in the next couple of years or what to put in the pieces. Publications, presentations, and you guys go to FERC. Yeah, so you're gonna put FERC, yeah. So you got a presentation, but you're gonna look on there and see how you say it. there's you're doing a professional research presentation kind of a format. Okay, so thank you for reminding me, because when you do that very first letter saying, you know, I'm Brian and I'm when I talk to you, the CV's there. Okay. All right, and if anybody, you know, wants me to look at the CV, if it's in my format, I'll look at it. All right, what else? What else do you want to know? You want to know?
I was going to say, you talking about what's here in the fall, is it more, are you trying to like, most pinch yourself, or other than you should be less than I am.
I think that you're going to do enough homework to decide that research-wise and university-wise, you would like to try that. So you're going to approach it that I'd like to do it. There's a whole other thing you do. There's a whole nother talk on how do you pick once you have choices, or when you're going to go to an interview, you're going to go in person. What do you look for? That's all different. So you start out under the assumption that you want to go there, but then after you go there, you might say, "Oh, well, no." Then you don't go there. But I think it's best for them to take you seriously that I'm a potential new member of the research. Sometimes they're going to say I don't have any money coming in, or, you know, there's this kind of a problem with new people. New people scare me. People who are like a year away from retirement scare me. New people scare me because they don't know what they're doing. They're like 1 year out of a PhD, they don't know what they're doing. It takes them a couple of years to figure out what to do. We had one student who went to somebody in Illinois, loved it, fantastic, lady left. So after 2 years of her PhD program, she had to find somebody else. And that's kind of so when you're looking at people, try to find established people. You don't want somebody who just started there. You know the difference between assistant and associate professors? Do you guys know? Okay, so when you get your first professor job, you're an assistant professor. Then you have about a 6-year clock to get tenure. Okay? And so one of the things you're getting clocked on is how much research can you spit out. So you're really research focused, that's really good. When you get promoted from assistant to associate, you get tenure. Then a lot of people plateau there and never move to professor level. You have to be really good and continue your research and look real good on all those 3 things. Then you could get promoted to professor. So when you're looking at people, the assistant professors are relatively new, but if they've been there 4 years, they're a couple of years from tenure, they're very motivated to do research and to publish, right? That's a good thing. And of course, associate and full are also really good. So, yeah. What else?
What would you say is like the idealized application timeline?
Okay, I do my homework in the summer. I would see when the application's open. I'd have like a spreadsheet like the students have given me for each university I want to apply to, know when they open, not when they close, when they open. And I would go ahead, because that's for the graduate school part of it. I would go ahead and apply when they open, while you are working the individual faculty level. Okay. And then, like I said, if you apply to NSF, you're going to know probably where you're going before it even comes up. The same person whose faculty left in them after 2 years, she wanted to go to Stanford. She didn't get it. She applied to NSF. She got it. Guess who called and said, "Do you want to come?" Yeah, and when you know what she told him, I was proud of her. She said, "No, thank you. You don't want to go somewhere that isn't going to invest in you." So she went to Illinois. No lady left. She's got an interesting stuff. However, I was very proud of her. So, yeah, you can imagine, right? Yeah, anyway, so yeah, she was very, I was in church with her, because you don't want to go anywhere. Different fields get paid for their months. Biologists is probably not as rich as engineering, but they should be paid something. Yeah.
Do you email a professor asking to introduce yourself and talk about a spot in their lab before or after you apply to this school?
I'm just simultaneously. Actually, I would get my applications on the first day they open. Well, it depends on the day. Because I want you to be email these guys in the fall, early fall. And if the application doesn't open until, you know, December 1st, I would wait for that. I would, but if you've already shot it in there because it's already open September 1st and you're emailing September, you say, I have applied.
Okay.
Okay. If you've got a really stellar GPA, you can put it in there or put it on your CV. I would have put a mediocre. That's me. Yeah, what else? So what time is this? Oh, okay, yes.
I was wondering what you thought about the combined degrees,
Come again,
the combined degrees.
the master's for ones?
Yeah.
In what?
Biology.
Biology. So there's almost no, I don't even know okay. If you want a PhD, I would just go get it. Sometimes students in engineering have 4.1s and they're not going to keep going. They might not stay there and get one, but I'm not sure how much more it improves your job outlook with it. But in biology, it might be a little different if you're working for a government or forest and wildlife or, something. It might, like different fields are different, right? Like in chemistry, they're going to have a master's because you can market for it. Biology, there's probably a little bit of a market for it. But you're gonna have like 6 years in PhD, why not get one out, knock one out? You're gonna, okay, that's a very good point though. Some schools will say, yes, we'll accept you for a PhD program, but you're gonna get a master's first along the way. Okay? So all that means is the first couple of years is when you're taking your classes and starting your research, and then they probably give you a test and boom, you got a master's and you keep going. And you probably have already started what you're gonna work on. So don't worry if somebody says that, that's okay. Some schools will just immediately, because they're gonna take a serious education. So I'm not sure I guess I would talk to, so I was, I found that lady and I said, if you can find somebody doing the job you want, see what degrees they have. And it might be that the job you want, that's all you need. Because I'm, a firm believer in getting the job, the degree you need for the job you want. Oh, my favorite. Have you, anybody been told, you're overqualified if you have a PhD? You ever heard that? Yeah, right? Who told you that? Don't tell me your name, but what, describe the person who told you that. Faculty, a kid,
It
what?
wasn't a person, just the internet.
The internet told you that. So some unnamed individual, right? And did that unnamed, do we know what degree that person had? I can guarantee it's not a PhD. My favorite is when, oh yeah, so-and-so said you're overqualified, is what you're doing to have a master's. That's what I expect them to say. So don't buy that. That is a sour grapes for the people who don't get one that say you're overqualified. You are never overqualified. Yeah.
Someone who told me that did a PhD.
They told you that,
Yeah.
and they have a PhD?
For a job, yeah, they said.
Oh,
was for
well,
like-
that's for a particular job.
Okay.
You were applying, you need to apply for the boss job with your PhD. Apply for the, blind person.
Well, the job was saying it needed a PhD and she couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So she was right.
What company was it?
It wasn't a specific one, it was just like very specific.
Yeah, don't work with that person. Yeah, are you an engineer?
I,
Yeah, there's one.
could be-
Yeah, see, computer science, here's the problem with that. You can make darn good money with a master's.
she was a linguistics.
No, I mean, just for you and computer science students, you get a master's and make really big bucks and that you're gonna plateau out maybe for the PhD, but it's very enticing when you're like, oh, it's done. So, and then speak from experience, my kid is, he's dad scientist, he's 35, makes more than his mother. Now he's thinking she could go back to PhD. If he did that, he'd like take a what, a 3/4 cut in pay. I don't see that happening, but anyway. So, yeah, and that's the other thing, so as you go straight, don't screw around like I did, I just, what I was doing. I don't do that. You're already used to taking tests and living in a student situation. So, just if you go out first, if you go out, and if you're an engineer, don't say, I need industry experience first. No, you don't. You can get that as you go through. All right, so we have like 10, let me just tell you the short version. Let's say you get into 5 places. Where are you gonna go, right? Well, first thing you're gonna do is visit them all. Walk around a lot. Are you comfortable there? Is it creepy? You're gonna talk to graduate students. At some point in your interview there, you might have an interview before you go visit, before you get accepted. A lot of those have been Zoom lately. I don't know if you'll have a Zoom or not, but anyway, you talk to graduate students, I will tell you, graduate students whine, particularly ones in the middle. So you take what they say with a grain of salt, but if it's overwhelming whining, then that means maybe not the best idea. Okay? Who do you pick? What do you want to know? You want to know how many graduate students do they have? If they have 2, it means you're going to get a lot of personals one-on-one. If they have 15, it means they are a money machine, but you are not going to get a lot of personal one-on-one. You might not need it. You might not want it, but you have to know for yourself. Am I going to be comfortable in a big group or a little group, right? So you ask that. Then you want to know how many they graduated in the last 3 years. If it's none, it's not a good school. Okay? Let's say it's 1 a year. Okay. How long did it take them? Oh, this one took 12 years and that was 15. Okay, these are questions, these are things you can kind of gauge. There are factors you can graduate a kid and say that's all. Okay, you want to know how many publications they got. If the student, we're churning out graduate students with no publications, that's not good, right? So these are things you can find out from other graduate students when you visit. Sometimes the person you really think you want to work with, you find out they can't graduate a kid. Or they graduate a kid with no publications and it takes, 8 years. You're going to have to find somebody you like as well. So these are the kind of things that you're going to just when you have options, you go and you find out because they're choosing them too. They're not just choosing you. You're choosing them as well. Okay? So those are kind of the short. That's kind of the short version of how do you pick. Money is like I told you that one kid. He's actually taking 8K less to go to Northwestern because he loves Chicago as opposed to being in California. Because Champaign-Urbana is kind of like Gainesville, it's in Bushville. So, in his case, he's actually taking a little less money. So, but other kids, other students, money is the thing. But I like, be picking the faculty and the research and the name of the institution and reputation, that kind of stuff. But money's the fun thing. What else did we leave out?
Are there certain schools more geared towards sending students like after they finish their PhD in the industry versus?
Thank you. That is such a good question to ask. It's particularly in engineering. Find out, you say, okay, I graduated 5 in the last 3 years. Where did they go? Some faculty are really good making graduates for industry. They're not so good at making them for academia. Others are really good at making them for academia, which is okay because then you can still go to industry. Okay. Now I will tell you, my kid is in Chicago. Okay, not my kid, my other student who's in Chicago. He really wants to be a teacher. He wants to come back and teach in an HBCU. I told him, do not tell Chicago that. That is your little secret. Chicago's premier institution. They want to make PhD academics that go to big schools. So, and they would not have looked at him the same way. I said, you tell me you want a PhD and you're going to go teach at a R1 institution. There's some things you keep yourself. Because they want you to go out and make them look good as one of their ones. Right? So in his case, we keep that a little secret. It'll be interesting to see what he changes at the end, right? Because you don't know after 5 years, you're going to change it. All right. Any other questions? Yeah.
I know in terms of finding school, you were very, you described it in sort of a pick a researcher and then get close to school kind of situation. In terms of like schools that offer fellowships, like Stanford,
Yeah, you know what? I looked at that. My friend who wanted to go there, you have to have cured cancer by the time you're 8 to get one of those. Have you looked at those? Have you looked at the resumes?
I went to the, yeah.
Are you kidding? But yeah, you can apply. You apply to prestigious. I mean, I want I cured peace between Israel and Palestine. That's what people my nights are, right? So yes, you apply for free because that's my rule, right? But do not for a minute think that it's your job to get your funding to go to graduate school. It's not yours. If they say, hey, you should apply to Jen, say, I'll think about it. It's not your job to get one. Because what they do sometimes with minority students, I see shit here, right? There are spot fellowships you can get. You should get like pay next year. This is my pet peeve. So apply to stuff that's free, because why not? You might get it, but it's not your job to fund your own graduate education. It's a school. And if they're gonna say, hey, apply to this, and then I can give this money to somebody else, say, okay, pretend you're gonna do it and forget the deadline. But yeah, so Night Hennessy is, again, if you got that, I would like be shocked, not because I don't know you at all, but because, maybe you've already cured cancer, I don't know. But Night Hennessy is